You know, when I said to sell your body to the White Glove Society, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
Didn't really have much of a choice, you daft prick. Besides, it's your fault. You said gambling was a good idea.
How is this my fault? I told you to play the tables you could win, not play fucking roulette.
This is what I get for trying to join in on the fun, I suppose. At least I have an all-you-can-eat buffet here.
Hey, stop that. You don't want to end up being a cannibal after all.
You aren't a dragon. I'll be fine.
That's fair. But you could help out with this, you know. The faster we get this catalog done, the sooner I'll care enough to restore your limb.
So lazy. At least give me back my arms so I can scoop out your skull easier.
Alright then, let's see what's concrete here. We're going over someone called the courier? Yeah, okay, it's gonna be one of those days. Well, since it's an RPG, that means most of the decisions and feats are context and player sensitive. So let's separate this based on stuff we know happens and stuff that can be player choice. Which should be simple, I think.
Oh yeah, I don't see how that could go wrong.
Alright, well, that's as good as a place to start as any, so let's see what's confirmed for our protagonist. Getting their headshot. And surviving. Okay, that's pretty good. But they were gonna die if they weren't saved by a robot, and they couldn't even dig themselves out of the ditch while they were dead. I mean, I guess starting somewhere at normal human level? I mean, taking a bullet to the head and ultimately almost dying? I think that's pretty normal human stuff, right?
How many humans do you know that survive a bullet wound to the head and being buried alive?
Okay, well, when you put it like that, that's fair. Don't really know too many people who can survive that one. Well, we're going to pick out a route then and work off that because, again, player choice. Thankfully, overall scaling doesn't change too much due to side quests, so we'll stick to main story quests for the scaling here, which begs the question, what should we go with? While some events overlap, not every story does. So we can go with the cold calculating Mr. House, the desperate attempt at the restoration, that is the NCR, Fax's favorite walking human violations group, Caesar's Legion, or Yes Man, a robot faction that is subservient. Maybe I should pick Yes Man just to spite her.
No, do it right. Yes Man comes with too many issues.
You're right. Yes Man is too player choice focused. Alright, we'll compromise with Fax and go with House, since he's enough of a robot after all.
Don't think she's gonna appreciate the robot sex slaves.
Would she care about the robot sex slave? I doubt it. Robots don't have feelings after all.
I don't know. You should have seen her when I accidentally spilled water over our toaster.
Alright, to try and achieve an overall broad catalog here and the most complete version, we're just going to give them all 10s for their specials, and we're going to go ahead and give them just full stats across the board. And don't worry about Fax. I sent her to get the DLC, so while we're in the main game, it's just gonna be the two of us.
What could go wrong?
Now let's get this run started with the first special, Strength. Courier at max perks and stats can carry around 400 pounds with ease, and then with the long haul perk, you can fast travel even while over encumbered. This means that you can travel the entire wasteland with over 400 pounds with very minimal difficulty. For context, when you become encumbered or over encumbered, you do move vastly slower. Perks can mitigate this issue, such as Travel Light and Atomic, which when their conditions are met do allow the courier to move faster when encumbered, but he still moves a lot slower than without it. And since we are talking about strength here, and we are giving all main options for this run on the table, we're gonna have to talk about unarmed combat. During the events of working for House, you're thrown up against various dangerous foes like robots, and the courier can beat those robots to death with his bare hands, punching not only through metal, which, to be clear, being able to damage a robot and break its body with your bare hands is already crazy, but we can get a little crazier than that, because during your journey wishing for a nuclear winter, House tasks you with genociding a group of people who think differently than him. Shame Fax isn't here. She'd love to genocide a bunch of techno-fetishists. And actually, now that I think about it, would they consider Fax an advanced piece of tech?
I doubt a fax machine would count as advanced. Stay on topic.
Right, I'm getting off topic. So why does this genocide matter? Well, it matters to the power armor. According to House, platoons of NCR troops died attempting the same thing, destroying a bunker at Birth of the Steel, and platoons can range anywhere from 10 to 100 soldiers in size, and given it took a 15-to-1 advantage to take Helios, which is a much less defensible area, we'll just assume it takes hundreds to destroy the bunker. Which, the fact that the courier can do it by themselves already makes them the most dangerous person on the planet, probably, you know, give or take the other protagonists. But regardless, Power armor was shown in the Operation Anchorage DLC back in Fallout 3 to be able to tank explosives and small firearms with ease. And I'm going to claim the courier can punch people in that armor to death with their bare hands. And that's already pretty crazy. Now, to be fair, that's about as crazy as it gets for the main game, because you don't have to fight Deathclaws in the main campaign. However, Doc Mitchell does claim that with a strength of 10, you could wrestle a Deathclaw with just a switch. And if you can kill power armor individuals with your bare hands, maybe he's not so crazy after all about that. Not to mention perks like Piercing Strikes, which let your unarmed attacks ignore 15 points of damage threshold, or the amount of protection granted by combat armor in the game.
Freeze, enemies of the Legion.
Oh, look who showed up. And what the hell are you wearing? Also, what's with the gun? Wait, did you already join the Legion?
You'll never believe it, but I found a nice mummy on my travels who gave me this snazzy outfit. And all I had to do was kill a bunch of filthy savages.
Of course you did. Why exactly do you have that gun pointed at me? I have done nothing wrong.
Oh, because last I checked, this ain't a place with kings and queens. And the only cars I've seen have been covered with a nice new coat of rust.
Okay, that's fair. But we're almost ready to go now that you're here. And to be fair, you're the one who grabbed the book before I could get us there properly. So really, this is your fault.
I'll crucify you. And the worst part is I could forgive all of that if mankind was dying off and suffering a horrible fate. But no. They're just fine and even have an economy.
Bottle caps don't count as an economy.
I saw paper money and gold coins. Don't you lie to me, or did Source eat whatever non-existent brains you had left?
Look, help me get through this and we can move.
Fine, where are we at in the catalog? Physical strength. Oh my god, you're slow. Alright, I assume you've covered the perk Super Slam? Nope, of course not. For those of you who don't know, Super Slam is a perk that lets the courier knock back most creatures into the air. With only a strength requirement of 6, and melee weapons skill of 45, your punches can send Deathclaws, fat military-grade robots, and even the X-42 giant robo-scorpion flying. I have an odd feeling of seeing my kind being defeated by human hands, but the courier's close enough to a cyborg that I'll let it pass.
Alright, so you're saying they're at least superhuman. I got you. Wait, do cyborgs get a pass in your book or something?
Not important. What's next? Speed.
Yeah, this one's gonna be a bit rough. So it's an RPG with very little to any cutscenes, and as a result, speed feats are kinda hard to work with. According to a calculation I found while exploring the World Wide Web, the courier can hit speeds of subsonic speeds based on his speed to the
Sonic Emitter, a weapon from Old World Blues. And based on being able to react to these attacks and other weapons, and people of comparable speed, he might even be faster than the weapon's projectile. But of course, if we're going by that approach, then we should also mention that the courier can, maybe, possibly, be able to dodge lasers from laser weapons.
Oh, no you don't. While the laser should be moving at the speed of light, the idea that the courier could do it is so far out of the normal range of feats that it shouldn't even be considered.
Oh yeah, the massive range of feats we got. Like the two?
They got shot in the head, for crying out loud.
And I'll shoot you if you keep trying to keep my people down.
They're barely even a cyborg!
I don't care.
Fine. Listen, we'll stick with the subsonic and higher ranges, and we'll say very unlikely, but still technically possible if you squint at it hard enough, light speed combat and reaction speed.
That is satisfactory. Let's move on to durability.
Alright, so aside from gear you can wear to make yourself more durable, since it is an RPG, like the aforementioned power armor, which you can wear in the game, the courier eats a bullet with no real resistance at the start of the game, so that's not very durable. But after recovering and making a comeback that made Kenshiro blush, the courier gains the ability to increase their durability with gear and perks. Ignoring gear, since again, things like power armor, grenades, and gunfire with these, the game counts armor as something called DT essentially. The higher your DT, the less damage you take as it directly subtracts your DT value from the damage of a gun. Keep in mind, I'm trying not to include drugs and alcohol in this video, basically trying to keep this courier nice and sober, despite the fact that they do have perks that would benefit or increase the benefits of drugs and alcohol. We'll go over some perks that increase their toughness, essentially, their DT. Toughness gives you 6 DT at max rank. Stonewall gives you 5 extra DT against melee and unarmed weapons, and Nerd Rage gives you 15 DT when you're below 20% or at 20% HP, and Hit the Deck gives you 25 DT against explosives.
For some points of reference, a standard assault carbine deals 13 points of damage with a minus 10 DT effect on bullets. That means if you had Nerd Rage active and max toughness rank 5mm bullets would barely do any damage. A standard NCR service rifle deals 18 points of damage with 5.56mm rounds, meaning under the same conditions they'd be effectively bulletproof.
Yeah, and that's about as crazy as it gets for durability here. So,
Maybe for you peasant vanilla players.
oh, is there something you elitist DLC players know that I don't?
See, during the events of the Lonesome Road, the courier is given a nice shiny detonator. A detonator for nuclear bombs. So you find a nuclear bomb and blow it up, several of them if we're giving all options. And there's no way you'd be outside of their effective range, half the time you blow them up standing a few feet away.
That sounds ridiculous.
According to the original Fallout Vault Dweller's Survival Guide, nukes during the Great War ranged between 200 to 750 kilotons, something about more, Fallout. You're not funny.
Alright, considering something like the Fat Man only had a yield of 21 kilotons, and if what you're saying is true and they can survive this explosion near close ranges, I'd say that safely puts the courier into city levels of durability, despite how completely ridiculous that sounds.
Alright, since you two are taking so long, I'm just gonna run down the rest of the special attributes. Intelligence basically is more of a social stat, being able to deduce more about the world around you, like where Ulysses' name comes from.
Or making out the words of the natives in honest hearts. However, combine this with other skills like science, allowing you to hack mainframes, work on chem stations to make drugs and repair advanced robots, and you got one smart cookie, as expected of one who slowly turns into the superior life forms.
Oh please, robots should not count as a life form. But that's also not including medicine, which at 25 allows the courier to treat wartime injuries with the proper gear, and at higher levels lets the courier treat Kaisar's brain tumor with some tools. Not to mention the repair skill, which just lets you repair basically everything.
Alright, so a smart guy, not too many of those around here. Perception lets the courier not only notice small details in the area like one would assume, it also acts as a danger sense, letting the courier know of hostile enemies even before they've seen them. It even gives perks like Friend of the Night, which lets you basically see in the dark of night, and works well with lockpicking and energy weapons. Agility just increases speed and the use of guns, along with increasing the amount of attacks you can do in.
Oh yeah, I should probably mention VATS. The all-powerful ability of basically stopping or slowing time in game to take aim and fire at your opponent. VATS also gives the courier information on their enemy limbs' HP, and in certain cases, if the courier's luck is high enough, allows them to get aided in combat by either the mysterious stranger or, in New Vegas, also Misfortune.
Basically, two homeless people show up and shoot people with a revolver. Since we mentioned luck, yeah, it's exactly, as it sounds like, probability manipulation. The higher your luck, the more likely you are to win at casinos. The chances of things going in your favor go up dramatically, like guessing passwords correctly in RepCon or performing Caesar's brain surgery without the proper knowledge or skill. Items can be bought to increase this, like implants, which we'll touch on more later.
Charisma is a simple special that just affects how much someone likes you. Higher ranks grant access to perks like Animal Friend, which prevents animals from attacking you and also help you on higher levels. But really, speech and barter skills are the ones to mention here. Barter lets things cost cheaper and provides new options in conversations.
And speech basically makes you an influential god among man, with even having the ability to convince a bloodthirsty warmonger like Legate Lanius to stand down and retreat from combat at the eve of his victory.
You can even convince Ulysses, a man who was hell-bent on killing you, to side with you and fight together against marked men that would flood your arena with him. His final plan in case he couldn't kill you himself.
Well, now that we've gone over core stats and some examples, let's cover some other things. Also, it should be worth noting that while in the game of New Vegas you can acquire companions who do give you special perks, in both DLCs and outside of DLC in the main game. We are not including them in this video because that would be more outside help that isn't reliant on the courier's abilities.
As mentioned earlier, it is possible for the courier to ascend to a better existence by implanting themselves with machinery. One implant per 1 point of endurance. And while most implants in the main game give you special stat boosts, like +1 for charisma, 2 are worth mentioning. Subdermal armor, which gives you a permanent defensive boost, and the Phoenix implant, which is just a minor healing factor. According to Usanagy, the wounds practically heal right before your eyes. Old World Blues offers some more implants, however they kinda suck. The only noteworthy ones purify radiation from water sources and increase your crouching movement speed. But who cares about that when they give you so much more? By tearing out your heart, spine, and brain, they grant those limbs immunity from being crippled, bonuses to durability and immunity to poison. But that's not even the best we can do. Implant GRX gives you a free replenishing and non-addictive drug, which basically slows down the world around you except for your own direct speed. So either speed boost or perception enhancements.
Neat! So regarding perks, I'm not going to bother listing them all, so I'm just going to give a generalized overview of what they all do. And since I read Fax's mind the moment she came in here without her consent...
Hey!
Don't hey me! I saw the other genocides you did, the white legs notwithstanding.
God was on my side there. I should not be judged for that.
God is not a mummy!
Source? Yes, no, I mean, how are you doing today?
Good. About the reach the brain, I think.
Ah, she doesn't know it's a dry well.
Look, most of these perks are just super conditional stat boosts like damage increases. Some are radiation boosts and resistances. With one perk lane you get a healing factor depending on how irradiated you are, or one that lets you cleanse yourself of all radiation by just sleeping. Some perks reveal all locations on the map or summon a homeless person to fight for you. Some save resources or increase stats from durability to critical chance. Some let you scare people away just by talking to them, or to see the durability of your opponents in general. Some even let you have sex. So perks can hit a wide variety of different abilities and ranges, but they mainly just do stat boosts, and that's about it. It's just they're always super conditional. And if you'd like to know more about those perks, you can click on one of the links down below.
Regarding weapons, kind of a similar vein of thinking. Conventional and military-grade weapons, from pistols to anti-material rifles. Laser weapons and plasma weapons, which vaporize you or turn you to goo depending on which you get hit with. So regardless of where you think the speed scales, they still got light speed weapons.
Some unconventional weapons, including Power Fists, which just make you hit harder, and Power Fist with buzzsaws for the knuckles, along with mini nuclear bombs and alien energy weapons. But Power Fist with a chainsaw.
And things like a laser pistol that paralyzes you on hit and a flaming gasoline sword.
Alright, so that about covers it. We didn't go over all the courier skills for this one because it doesn't necessarily matter for the scaling, but technically they would be extremely proficient with explosives, most firearms, weapons in the game. There are some unarmed special abilities you can learn, like pocket sand essentially from other people around the wasteland, to make your unarmed skills superior. Things like the Ranger Takedown, which is just a back kick that knocks people to the ground. And that's about it. There are more details, but just medicine, stuff of that nature. Just stuff we kind of already covered a bit in detail, but there's a whole list like lockpicking as well. Just proficiencies the courier would have access to in this scenario. Nothing that would overall change the scaling. So, with that said, that's about it. So I'm thinking dinner at the Ultralux. Heard they got some fresh meat and have a special, and spending some night on the tables. You ladies care to join me?
I can't. They won't let me sell my body there considering I'm a robot. I'll just go kill the Brotherhood of Steel.
I'm in. Always wondered what I taste like.
Sounds good. With that said, thank you guys for your time as always, and have a nice day. Hopefully the next time I see you guys, it'll be in the right location, otherwise I'm probably gonna get crucified.